In this video, we're going to go over protections to make sure your application is secure. One of the first ones is staging servers. So first of all, you're going to have your developers build applications in a development server. Once they're done, they're going to send it to specific people that are going to test this. So we have a testing server that is built specifically as an environment for specific quality assurance testing. We got to make sure that the developers do not have permission to access the testing server, so that it's a level of differentiation between the developers and the testers, so that something that a developer builds is not pushed out into production because they deem it good without having it gone through proper testing. Additionally, in this testing server, you may do some penetration testing to ensure that you have all the security pieces built into your application. And then finally, you'll send it to production server. You're not going to have either the developers or testers have permission to the production server. This is another spot where you may want to have your pen testers actually test your server, just to make sure that anything that wasn't caught during the testing process is caught during the production process. Another protection is session management. So it works like this. If you land on a web page that says welcome, it then has you log in. So you log in, it starts a session. The session interacts with the database to be able to check to see if you are a viable user. It starts the session, and then because you have entered in the valid credentials, you can then access certain pages, maybe such as an admin console or maybe various other web pages within that application. And then finally, to get out of the session, you would then click a logout button, which would terminate the session. Additionally, we want to ensure that all input is validated on the back end. So rather than having the client validation, such as JavaScript, and relying on that, as well as form entry, we want to ensure that we have the back end on the right here that is going to have the code to check to see if users have entered in valid input parameters. So in PHP, we can handle untrusted characters using HTML special chars, HTML entities, or URL encode. Essentially what this is doing is it's changing like and to ampersand and less than to and LT semicolon. So these are the encoded versions of each one of these characters to ensure that it is not interpreting these characters as what they are. It's interpreting them as what they should be seen as. So for example, if I say echo HTML special chars for this is bolded text, the output will be this is ampersand LT semicolon B for bold, and then and GT semicolon for greater than, and then bolded, and then the same thing on the other side, text. Another way to handle untrusted characters using PHP is using filter input. So you pass in a value such as $var, and then you pass in a specific filter, which could be any of these filters that we see here. So filter sanitize special characters, encoded string, URL, email. So for example, if we have sanitize URL, we're going to remove all the special characters from the URL. Or we will validate that it is a URL. So if they didn't put www or HTTP or HTTPS in front of it, then it will return an error message. We can validate emails. We can validate numbers using this method. So for example, we could say echo filter var, and then here's the URL, and then we're going to say filter sanitize encoded. So it's going to take this URL and convert it into this string, so that it's not going to interpret the slashes and the spaces as actual characters. Rather, it's going to convert them to the code that is recognized in the backend. So finally, the key principle to all of this is to never trust user input. If you ever rely on a user entering what you think they should enter, then you are opening yourself up for any avenue of attack. So just ensure that any user is going to use your form inappropriately so that you can have backend protections against that.